It's another edition of the Wrap-Up Show with John Schaefer and Jim Russell. We're presented by Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe by hitting that subscribe button. If you want year-round exclusive Padres content, we have it for you. The button is down below. Hit the notification bell as well. You'll be notified when we have new videos. Smash the like button and also follow us on Twitter at John Schaefer and at Jim Russell SD. Will the Padres win 90 or more games this year? Before we talk to you about that, we want to remind you of our title sponsor, Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance. I just switched over my homeowners and my earthquake insurance to Mark Nimitz. If you are looking to save upwards of $440 on your insurance in 2022, you need to consider a San Diegan. Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance. He can also help you save money if you own an electric vehicle. But auto, home, renters, or life, he's got over a decade of experience, great customer service and communication. He's a huge Padres fan as well. So contact Mark at the link down below if you're looking to save money on your insurance needs in 2022.
All his information is above my head right here. Phone number and email address, mnimitz@farmersagent.com. That's mnimitz@farmersagent.com. When you reach out to him, let him know that John and Jim from the Wrap-Up Show sent you.
The annual Fangraph predictions are out for win totals for teams, and the Padres come in at 90 wins per Fangraphs in 2022. Last year, 98 wins was the preseason initial projection. That changed to maybe 96 or 97 at the start of the season. Initially came in at 98. This year, that number is 90. It would have them finishing in second place in the NL West to the Dodgers. So the question today for the chat and for you, Jim, is are the Padres going to win more or less than 90 games in 2022?
Well, first off, I have to say that these Fangraph projections, the zip projections, or whatever you want to call them, after last year, they mean absolutely nothing to me. They're just what they are. They're projections. And we saw what real life things can happen in baseball and how you can just say, oh, well, got that one wrong. Like, great. I project this team to win 95 games this year. What is that? It's whatever. It all comes down to what this team can do on the field if they can stay healthy and the moves that AJ Preller makes to finish out this roster. 90 games to me means that people view this team, or the computers view this team as being pretty good. Do I think they're going to win over 90 games next year? I have to make a plus 11 game increase over last year's record. I think they can do it. It's going to be tough, like very tough. But would I be shocked if they won 91 games next year or 90 games? No, I wouldn't be shocked. But would I be and the same thing the other way? If they won 86, 87, 88 games, would I be shocked? No, I wouldn't. The only thing I'd be shocked is if they won 79 games again next year. But to answer your question, I will say yes, and I will go low 90s, like 90 wins or 91 wins, because winning 95 plus games, you have to have a special type of year to win that many games.
Well, I agree with everything you just said. You're right about projections. It doesn't guarantee anything. It means half the time they're going to win less than 90 games, and half the times they're going to win more than 90 games, and a few percent of the time they'll win 90 games. And by the way, you can win a World Series probably not winning 90 games. We've seen teams do it. You can not get to a World Series winning 107 games like the San Francisco Giants did in 2021. The Padres a year ago were 67-49 on pace to win 94 games, and the wheels completely fell off.
Yep.
So can they put themselves in a position where they're on a similar pace 2/3 of the way through the season and then finish off the season with Bob Melvin, something they didn't do with Jace Tingler? Yes. Although it wasn't Jace Tingler's fault that Yu Darvish was hurt and ineffective. It wasn't Jace Tingler's fault that Blake Snell was hurt down the stretch. And it goes on and on and on. And I'm sure there's some blame there for Jace Tingler as well and for the front office. No question about it for what happened those final 2 months. I think 90 is fair. I think it's realistic. I think they'll need better pitching health than they had a year ago. And I think it's possible that they get that with the addition of Mike Clevenger and potentially by adding a fifth starter like a Nick Martinez, and maybe even finding another starter, because this roster isn't completely finished off, where if they do add a piece or two, maybe that projection number goes up. I think most Padres fans would be very pleased with 90 wins. Is it the greatest season in franchise history? No, although it's dependent on what you do in the postseason. But If I could sign the dotted line right now and go from 79 to 90 and punch my ticket into the postseason as a wild card, I think I have to do it. I'm with you. I think this team at the end of the year wins something like 90 games. I don't think they win 80 games. I think they're better than that. I don't think they win 100 games. I think it's too challenging to do that. I don't think their pitching staff is deep enough to do that. So I think 90 is right between 80 and 100. And I think that's reasonable that that's where they end up.
And in baseball, especially, it's extremely hard to go from where this organization has been. I'm not counting 2020 at all, but the last, 7+ years, 10+ years, excuse me, as a franchise where you have not won, if you've not won 80 games in a season for over a decade, it is extremely hard to turn around and all of a sudden win 90+ games. Like, you have to have a progression, I feel like, and the Padres haven't had that progression yet. Like, there has not been a year where they win, okay, 86 games, and then, okay, 90 games, and then, okay, now it's 95 every year for the next, 3 years. Like, they haven't had that progression yet. So is that going to start next year? It better. It better start. And if they win 90 games, then that's a extremely good progression in your franchise over the last decade, and especially with AJ Preller as your GM. It's just like I look at what the Astros did, and I know everyone compares the Astros as far as like their farm system went and everything to the Padres because they had the number one farm system and all that stuff, and Fernando Tatis Jr., Carlos, all that stuff. They had to go through a progression too. They did not just all of a sudden go from 60+ wins to over 100 wins and win a World Series. It's hard to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the part here where I'm a little worried of saying, oh yeah, they can win 90 games, even though I think they could, because there needs to be a progression there. There needs to be a progression with this franchise.
We'll get back to the video in a moment, but we want to welcome our newest sponsor to the wrap-up show, Aura, a natural supplement and plant-based nutrition company. They have the healthiest supplements on the market, and their co-founder, Will, is a San Diegan and a lifelong Padres fan. I've been taking a probiotic through Aura for the last 5 or 6 weeks. It's really life-changing, whether you need probiotics or protein or other supplements. And they've got a special offer for our viewers. Your first order, you're going to get 30% off at the link down below. Using promo code WRAPUP, go to aura.organic. That's ORA.organic and enjoy 30% off your first order with promo code WRAPUP.
Yeah, and all of their products are all organic. This one that I'm taking right here, the pre-workout raspberry lemonade flavor, it is delicious. It's my favorite pre-workout I've ever taken. The best thing about this is you will not get the jitters once you take it, and you won't get a crash after you're done with your workout like you get for most pre-workouts. So the best thing about this is what I just said there and the flavor. It is absolutely delicious. Promo code WRAPUP, 30% off your first order, www.aura.organic. Again, that's 30% off your first order. Use promo code WRAPUP. Do that right now. And now back to our video.
It's interesting you say that. I agree with that. I don't think there's sports aren't always linear. I mean, you can have a worst to first team. It's not easy. It's happened before in baseball history. There have been teams that won 60 games and won World Series. The Braves and Twins did it in the early 90s when they played the World Series. We've seen teams go through crazy change in a short period of time. How about the Giants? Forget 2020, 2019 to 2021. Okay. Yeah. We're talking about a 30-game improvement on the Giants from 2019 to 2021. It's a lot predicated, by the way, for me on Fernando Tatis Jr.'s health. Is he going to be the best player in baseball, or is he going to play 99 games? So if he plays 162 games, I think the Zips projection has him as like an 8-WAR player, tops in baseball, arguably.
He's the top three. He's an MVP candidate.
Exactly, but he's got to play those games, and he didn't have surgery on his shoulder. But if he does put that season together, we're all waiting for it. This is going to be year 4. It's going to be hard to deny the Padres from 90 wins when Fernando Tatis Jr. has an MVP caliber year and plays 162 games. Forget everything else. Because even if Tatis a year ago was healthier, they could have put them. I mean, shoot, they were 67 and 49 last year. So I think that they're going to put themselves in a position where they don't run out of pitching. You have to assume. I mean, history can't repeat itself. AJ Preller saw what happened in 2021. I doubt they're going to run out of pitching where you're pitching Jake Arrieta and Vince Velasquez every fifth day in the second half of the year, although I could be wrong. I think if they get some level of pitching, consistency and add in Mike Clevenger, and then they get some level of health from their starting lineup, they'll be in good shape. But there are no guarantees of that. That's the thing. The huge wild card entering the year is not just their rotation depth and health. It's Fernando Tatis Jr., and that's probably a question for the next decade with the Padres until he proves otherwise, right?
Right. Let me ask you this. What's a number next year as far as wins go? Is like you have to win this many games, or the AJ Preller's got to go?
That's a really good question.
Or is it just predicated on not wins, but making the postseason, like regardless of how many wins they have?
The problem is the postseason is going to expand, so it's going to be easier to get in. You might be able to get in with like 84 wins.
That's true.
So is that going to be enough? Probably, if I'm being honest. If they get in, then it's probably enough to keep his job. And I think if they're out,
it's more or less about just getting in, regardless of.
I think so. I think they got to get in.
If they had 75 wins and they got in the postseason, it wouldn't matter.
Well, it's not going to. I don't think that's going to happen.
I'm just throwing that out there as like a hypothetical.
Yeah, I mean, I think they got to get in. I mean, is it acceptable for ownership for this team not to get into the postseason back-to-back years in a full 162-game season with this spend?
Well, who knows? They might only get 75 wins because the season might be shortened. So
that's true too. I mean, that's true. I think they need to get into the postseason. I mean, if there was some weird year where they won 90 games and didn't get in, depending on what the postseason looks like, and the team that got in had 91, he's probably keeping his job as well. I mean, Peter Seidler said, like, he's got complete faith. You got to have a reason to get rid of him. That reason's got to be a 79-win season again, and you finish 8 games out of the postseason. I don't think you get rid of him if they go 90-72 and finish a game out. So I know the number 90 plus, he's 1,000% back. My speculation would be like 84 plus. And 83 plus, he could very well be back.
How about this? Just a winning season. Like, can we get one of those, please?
True.
That'd be nice.
Exactly. A winning
season. So,
I mean, what do you think? I mean, in terms of the division, would you say Dodgers, Padres, Giants in that order heading into the year? We don't know what any of these rosters even look like. There are going to be so many changes between now and opening day. But just first blush, Dodgers because Dodgers. Padres because they performed, and then Giants because they're due to take a step back?
No, I would go Dodgers, Giants, Padres.
Really?
I'm not putting the Padres ahead of the Giants or the Dodgers right now. Because they have to earn it. They have not they've not earned the right to be put ahead of those two franchises right now, with the front offices and the farm systems, which we'll talk about in a later video, and what they have done on the field recently. They don't deserve it. Until this team, the Padres, can make the postseason, have a winning record, and be ahead of either the Dodgers, Giants, or both, I'm not putting them ahead of those two teams. I just can't. Like, how can you put them ahead of I know they're going to take a step back, most likely, and they lost some players. They lost a Hall of Fame catcher. They lost an all-star pitcher. How can you honestly put them ahead of the Giants after what you've seen that organization do with their front office and their player development? How can you put them ahead of that team?
You make a good argument. Let's ask the chat. How do you handicap the NL West? And are the Padres going to win 90 games or not? Is it Dodgers, Padres, Giants? Dodgers, Giants, Padres? Or could you see the Padres winning this division in 2022? Reply down below. Comment down below in the chat section. This reminder as well, if you are new to this channel, please subscribe. We have year-round exclusive Padres content. Hit the notification bell down below. Hit the subscribe button as well. Smash the like button on these videos and follow us on Twitter at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. Support our sponsors and support the wrap-up show. Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance if you have insurance needs. And Aura, get 30% off your first order using promo code wrap-up. There's a link down below. If you're purchasing Padres tickets for 2022, do so through us with StubHub using the Fan Protect guarantee. Until next time, and hopefully I can finish off a video better. This has been the wrap-up show presented by Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance.